Well, hi everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. We're just trying to connect up with Jamie at the moment, so we'll just see if he can hear us again.
I can hear you, Dan.
Hi, Jamie. Great. Well, I'm glad you can hear us. That's brilliant. We're now sort of live, as it were. We seem to have gone live. So thanks, everyone, for joining us. So I'm just trying to get some pictures of Jamie. We can hear him, but I just can't see him at the moment.
Dan, my phone says that the host has disabled my video.
Right. Oh, dear. What have I done? All right, let's just see what I can do there. Bear with me a second. Crikey.
I have to say my lockdown hair has grown considerably, so it's probably a good thing.
Well, that's been maybe you're pretending that we can't see you. Let's just try and see if I can find out how to turn your video on. I don't know how I've managed to turn it off. That's a new one for me. Right, let's give this a go. See if we can get to see Jamie somehow. Right, Jamie, I'm going to try making you sort of in charge, so you should be able to turn your own video on. So everything's now your responsibility. Right, can you hear me okay, Jamie?
I can, yes.
Right, okay, I'm going to try that. So hopefully, with a little bit of luck, you might be able to turn your video on.
Ah, we're in luck.
Great. Oh, very smooth here at Foxtrot Racing. Nothing ever goes wrong.
Oh, dear, dear. Well done, Dan. Thank you for that.
Great. Well, I'm glad we've got you back. Now, because you're now the host, anything that goes wrong is entirely your fault. So hopefully that's good. Sorry about that. I've no idea how I managed to block your video. Anyway, how are you, Jamie? You keeping well?
Yeah, we're keeping well, actually. Thanks, Dan, and likewise, hope you and the members really. Tricky times, but hopefully we're sort of nearing the end of the woods and the lights at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely, yeah. I saw Carntop had an entry today for Asker. Have you had any other entries? Is he your first, or have you had some other flat entries?
No, he's our first entry for the best part of 2.5 months. So I was very nervous that I was going to get the entry wrong, having not done it for so long.
Good. Well done. That's it's good to get an entry in, and I'm sure we'll be talking about Carntop a little bit later on. Do you know, Jamie, I was thinking about how we might start today, and I thought you sent me a video during the week, which I've not shared with any members because I thought we might save it for today. And I thought we'd start off the sort of tour, if that's the right word to use, by showing the video that you sent me. If you're happy for me to do that.
Yeah, please do. As long as I'm not host and required to do it, then.
Well, hopefully I can manage that technology. Now, I have to admit, when I've sort of played it, it wasn't great quality, which has nothing to do with the fact you sent it to me. It's just when I sort of blew it up. But I think everyone will enjoy it. So let's start off with this little video. It's only a couple of minutes long. And it's a video of all our winners. I say all, because there are a few of them. All our winners with Jamie last season. So let's see if I can get that up. Oh, no, I can't do it, Jamie. I need you to make me host again.
Right, okay.
Can you do that? You should, down at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to press a button, something like that.
Yeah. Here it goes.
There's an option there to make me a host.
I can share my screen, participants.
Yeah.
Dan Abraham, make host. There we go.
Brilliant. All right, let's try that again. Yeah. Very smooth.
There we go.
game, and now Carntop is shaken up. The Vollen sticking to the task. Horst on the far side. Stepover's effort is flat. Out. Pershing's dropped right away. They're racing on down between the final two. Carntop still being finessed along. Half a piece sticking to the task, but Carntop has gone a couple of lengths clear. At the last, Carntop gets over it safely. Just nodded slightly on landing. Now having to be driven out firmly. The Vollen moving into second ahead of half a piece. Carntop driven all out though. Doing enough. Defies top weight from the Vollen with half a piece in third and Horst.
And Eleanor Grove, they're coming now down towards the last 2 furlongs. Anything for Love by 3 parts of a length from Lorraine Poutin, and then on the far left is For the Greater Good as they approach the final furlong. Anything for Love with the advantage, a length clear. Lorraine Poutin is in second place, now 4 lengths back to the third For the Greater Good. Then Eleanor Grove racing now with just half a furlong to travel, and Anything for Love has the lead. She's a couple of lengths clear as they race into the final 100 yards. It is Anything for Love who's going to make a winning debut, and Paige Fuller and goes on to take the finale, beats Lorraine Poutin into second place. For the Greater Good was
clearly ahead. Anything for Love looks to have seen off Foster's Island, and going inside the final furlong, she's opening up again in the hands of Paige Fuller, and is now 5 lengths clear. Foster's Island gave it a good go, made it the race it was, but close home is no match for Anything for Love. Will make it 2 from 2. Anything for Love in the hands of Paige Fuller, the girls first in the last at Catterick. Second place will be Foster's.
Coming down towards the second from home, tailing off now Gwensily Berbus, and also Federici, who's going to be pulled up before 2 out, and on the outside it is Hogan's Height and Tom Cannon who now take the lead. Bouquet will give chase into second. On the outside, Wishful Dreaming is continued to stay on, so too is Touch Kick. The final fence of the Grand Sefton, and Hogan's Height has got the lead. Bouquet was over in second, Wishful Dreaming in third, then Touch Kick and Didero Vallis. No more jumping to be done. They're racing towards the elbow. Tom Cannon and Hogan's Height are out in front to Bouquet, and Henry Brook in second. On the outside, Wishful Dreaming and Jonathan England. They're straightening up with just over a half furlong to go, and Hogan's Height, running over the Grand National fences for the first time, has jumped them with aplomb. He's run them ragged. A winner for Jamie Snowden and Tom Cannon. Hogan's Height has won the Grand Sefton. It's going to be close for second between Bouquet and Wishful Dreaming, followed in fourth by Flying Angel. In fifth came Didero Vallis. Others to finish, Touch Kick, Ultra Gold, and then last of those to finish was Kilaro.
Good. Well, a few hopefully enjoyable memories there from the season that we've just had. And what we're going to do now is go and have a look around the yard. So hopefully we're going to get a little bit of an insight into not just the Foxtrot horses, but also some of the other horses that Jamie's got lined up, ready to run this summer. And hopefully you've all got your notepads ready to listen to his surefire winners and his tips he's going to give us. So just bear with me a second while we try and link into to our tour of the yard. Great. Hopefully we should be able to go and do that now.
So a quick tour of the yard. We've currently got Fact of the Matter back in. He's just come back in from a decent summer holiday. Obviously a bit of a cross-country specialist. He was 5th at Warragam in the Belgium Grand National last year, having won at Cheltenham over the cross-country fences the previous season. He likes better ground, so obviously he's back in for the summer. It'd be nice if we could go overseas with him, but he is still a novice over hurdles. We might pursue that route with him as well. Next in, we've got Tinsmith. Tinsmith was on the flat. He's an absolute giant of a horse. You would never believe he fitted in the stalls, really, but he's a lovely horse. Poor chap. He fell at the first time out over hurdles for us at Worcester last summer, and a horse landed on his ribs, and he broke his ribs. You can probably just see a bit of an indent in his ribs there, but he's recovered from that well, back jumping nicely, and he'll go novice hurdling this summer. Next up, we've got a lovely big horse called, actually he's unnamed, he's by Dylan Thomas. He's out of a mare called Bonnie River. She herself was a winner, and she's produced a couple of decent winners in her pedigree. He's a nice big sort, rangy sort, and we'll probably start him off in a bumper. I was hoping to start him off in a bumper in the spring, but that obviously didn't happen as far as the coronavirus was concerned, so we'll try and win a bumper in the autumn with him and then get him sold, I would have thought, but he's a nice big horse. Next up we've got a mare called Included. She was a decent horse on the flat. She's won a few over hurdles. She's still a novice over fences. Of a nice handicap mark that she could probably go and win over fences, I would have thought. We were hoping to go for a listed race at Cheltenham with her, but that didn't really happen on the back of the coronavirus. But she's certainly a nice horse to go and win a couple of nice chases over the summer. Then we've got Floor Bouquet. Floor Bouquet has been with us for a while now. She won a couple of novice hurdles a couple of seasons ago. Got stuck in the mud through the depth of the winter. Very much looking forward to having her ready to run in the spring. She looks wonderful. She can be competitive both over hurdles and fences. She's still a novice over fences, but certainly think she can be competitive in both disciplines. Four-time novice hurdle winner someday soon. He won four novice hurdles last summer and was placed in a couple of graded races in the autumn, the Persian War and one at Cheltenham, and he's going to go novice chasing, I think, this summer. But if there aren't the races for him, he can switch back into a decent handicap hurdle as well. Pisgah Pike. He was third first time out in a bumper for us at Ludlow. Desperately needed his wind doing, fourth at Fakenham, first time out over hurdles. He's had his wind done since, and he'll go novice hurdling. Looks a picture. Next up we've got Between the Waters, bit of a legend. He's been around in the yard for some time now. He's won three chases, twice last summer. Certainly pay his way in handicap chases through the summer. He's yet to win over hurdles actually, so might be an avenue worth pursuing at some point. Bit of a cheeky chappy, High Renown, owned by Sheep as a Lamb Racing. They've still 25% left available in him. He was not far behind College Oak in a bumper at Sedgefield in the winter, and then he finished fifth in a probably better race at Catterick. Not beaten too far that day. I bought him on the back of that, done his wind, and he'll run on better ground through the summer. Jumps nicely, so he'll go novice hurdling. Next up is the Unbeaten One of These Nights. She makes rather nasty faces, but she doesn't mean it herself. She's run 4 times and won 4 times. Once in a point-to-point in Ireland, and then she came over here and she was run 3 times for us in novice hurdles, and she's won all 3. She won a decent Class 3 event at Stratford. She'll be a decent novice chaser for the summer, but we might try her in a handicap hurdle first time out and see how she goes in that. But she jumps fences really well, and I think she'll be a nice horse to carry on winning with through the summer. Carntop. He's obviously been a legend for us, won 3 times, a couple of novice hurdles and 1 handicap hurdle over the brush hurdles. He's unbeaten over the brush hurdles, in fact. He was a decent flat horse, rated 98, and I think we're going to go to the Ascot Stakes at Royal Ascot in 10 days' time with him before a campaign back over hurdles. Looks an absolute picture, looks really well. Delighted with how he's going. Very quick out of the stalls, so could be a bit of fun. Chatmas Hype. He's won 5 of his 10 starts. He won 4 handicap hurdles last summer and a bumper. He's looking forward to his food. His food's just coming around now, so he's very hungry. But he's been a bit of a legend. He's by Azavoski. Azavoski was by Monsan, but he does like the better ground, and he'll be one to. Oh, got his bum there. But he's certainly one that we'll look forward to. Timoshenko. He was a decent horse on the flat for Smart Prescott. He won 6 times on the flat, typical handicap job. And he won 6 times on the bounce, ran in the Cesaro, which they quite fancied in the Cesaro, but obviously it turned out to be soft ground that day. Does want better ground, small feet on him. Jumps hurdles well, and he'll go novice hurdling this summer. Could be quite a nice horse to go novice hurdling with. Here's Adrastos, yard favourite, been around for a while now. He won 4 times last summer, or 3 times last summer, and once last spring. We were going to go to the Topham with him. He jumps brilliantly, but obviously the coronavirus pandemic put paid to that. So now we're going to run him on the flat. Change tack slightly. He's going to go to the Queen Alexandra at Royal Ascot, all being well if he gets in, and then we might think about perhaps going off to Galway later on in the summer if we're allowed to go travelling with him. But he's a dear old lad. Here is another old boy of the yard, Double Treasure. He's won a plethora over fences and hurdles. He was graded place as a novice hurdler. Went up to a mark of 150, back down to 130, so should be able to win off his handicap mark over hurdles and fences, hopefully. This is Midnight Chill, who's just arrived back in for an autumn campaign. He was going to have a spring campaign, but obviously nothing came of that. He won 3 novice chases the season before last. Still a novice over hurdles, and he can certainly win more races. Pacifies another one who's just come back in. He was obviously a prolific novice hurdler last season, winning 5 on the bounce, culminating in a listed win at Kempton. Finished second in a Grade 2 at Cheltenham before just coming up short at Huntingdon in the Sydney Banks. Unfortunately pulled a muscle that day, so he's had a holiday. He's back in now, looking great, and he'll go novice chasing. Jumps his fences really well, and hopefully can take high order in the novice chase division this season. Next up we have Sovereign Geek. Chris has just been in and done him up well. Sovereign Geek, again, he was a very good flat horse. He ran in the Cesaro, which funnily enough as well, and he's rated in the high 80s. Jumps like an absolute bunny, really cracking little jumper. So he should be a decent novice hurdler. We've just done his wind as well, so that should see a huge amount of improvement from him as well. So he could be a really exciting horse through the autumn and winter. Next up we've got Ask Robin. He won a point-to-point, and he's been placed in a couple of novice hurdles, and now he's got a handicap mark. Hopefully we should be able to have a bit more fun sending him novice handicap chasing off his mark through the autumn. Next up is Fortunate Fred, one of Andrew Brooks's. He's very kindly sending us another one this winter as well. Fortunate Fred was placed in a couple of bumpers last season at Huntingdon on soft ground. There was a feeling that he would want slightly better ground, so we brought him in slightly earlier to try and have a bit of an autumn campaign with him. But he jumps hurdles well, and he'll go novice hurdling in the autumn. Fortunate Fred. Moving on into the barn. We've just started filling up the barn. And this is Sazerac. Sazerac, she's by Sindar. She had her first run in a bumper at Wetherby, where she ran nicely, finished 5th that day. Showed a deal of promise, and certainly she's going to go novice hurdling through the summer and into the autumn. Here we've got College Oak. College Oak is by Norse Dancer from the family of Best Mate. He won his bumper at Sedgefield last season before finishing 2nd and 4th in 2 novice hurdles. We've just brought him back in to try and have him for an autumn campaign as well as a novice hurdler this year. Another one who's just come back in is Revered Gold. She's done very well for the summer. As you can see, Jamie's just giving her a brush off there. She again won a bumper at Doncaster season before last, but found the soft ground last winter slightly against her, so she's another one that's just come back in slightly earlier. And the other one we have in is Derailment Theater, who's been a bit of a legend over the years for us. He's won a plethora of races and won a nice race at Cheltenham as well. Believe it or not, he's still a novice over fences. So as an 11-year-old, he's going to go novice chasing through the autumn, and hopefully he can run in some of the better autumn novice chasers. So that's all we have in at the moment, which is 24. We're going to bring a few more in as the next weeks progress, and hopefully by the beginning of July we should have 50 in and be ready to go.
Well, thanks very much indeed, Jamie, for that. Very interesting and very informative, and lots of horses and lots of information there. So thank you very much indeed. Just while you're getting ready to answer some questions, I just want to remind everyone that if you've got any questions for Jamie, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you press the Q&A, you may need to sort of tap the screen just to get that button to show up. But if you tap the screen, you can type in there any questions that you'd like to ask Jamie, and I'll select a few of those questions to ask him over the next sort of 10 minutes or so that we've got left. So please do fire in your questions, and we'll ask Jamie not just about the Foxtrot horses, but about his other horses he's got in the yard as well. Great. Well, I'm hoping that we can go back and join Jamie. I think I may need to just struggle to get it. I may need to make him the host again in order to be able to see him. Jamie, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. For some reason, the video is saying that you've disabled me, but hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, I don't know why it does that. It's very strange. Let me just sort of make you the host again. Then you're in charge, and then you should be able to put your video on.
Does that will that mean that I'm answering the questions then, or seeing the questions?
Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, I think we can see you now, so that's great. No, I can still see the questions, so that's fine. Yeah, I was worried for a second that you were going to ask me the questions.
I certainly like the background you got there, Dan.
Well, as you know, when we did our webinar week, I visited different race courses. Now it's slightly less sort of fun now that we're actually allowed to travel around. But I thought I'd go for an appropriate background. Do you know where I am, Jamie? Can you tell where I am today?
Well, hopefully Carntop will be there next Tuesday, perhaps.
Well, it's not actually the winners' enclosure, but it is the front of the stands at Ascot. Yep. So today visiting Ascot Racecourse. A little bit cloudy. Looks a bit sunnier where you are, to be honest. But Jamie, thanks very much for showing us around the yard. Really good. Good to see all the horses. They all look very well and very happy in the stables. We've already had a couple of questions, so perhaps I can fire away at a couple of those. But beforehand, you mentioned about Carntop, and obviously we saw Carntop there in his box. Can you just tell us sort of a little bit about plans for him? Obviously you mentioned sort of the Ascot Stakes, but can you just sort of bring us up to speed where we are and what our thinking is for Carntop at the moment?
Yeah, so obviously Dan and I had a chat about Carntop's plans going forward this summer, and obviously he's very much a jumper, but he does have the experience of having run on the flat previously, and he's got a pretty high rating of 98, which should in normal years should guarantee that he gets a run at Royal Ascot. So we figured it might be quite a nice sort of start to the season, as it were, for him to have a spin there. He's as I say, he's got a mark of 98, and his mark, I'm just having a look here, he was, if I'm right in saying, he did go up to 105 before coming back down to 98, and obviously we've gone hurdling with him. So listen, sometimes horses have a spin back on the flat and show a bit more excitement, having been over hurdles, and they're it's a sort of new lease of life to them. So perhaps if there's seven pounds of improvement there to get him back up to 105, he goes and wins the Ascot Stakes, and it's our first Royal Ascot winner, which would be wonderful.
Well, that would be good, wouldn't it? So it sounds like the message is a little bit wait and see. We're not quite sure, but whatever the outcome, it should get him spot on, hopefully, for going jumping after the 1st of July. Exactly.
I think that's the thing. This is it's a sort of unique year, isn't it? And listen, why not? There's no jumping at the moment. Let's give him a spin at Royal Ascot. And obviously it would have been lovely to have all of you there in your top hat and tails, but it's not to be. And you know, if we win, lose or draw, I'm sure we can have a drink afterwards and enjoy it then.
And just talking about Royal Ascot, so you mentioned you've got one other potential runner for Royal Ascot. Well,
in the same kind of scenario that you and I have been talking about Carntop, I've been talking to Karen and John Gunn about Adrastos, and he's a pretty quick horse, Adrastos. He's rated 142 over fences, and we, as I said on the tour of the yard, you know, we were hoping to go to the Topham with him in the spring. He's been on the go basically since January, because we had him ready for Cheltenham, and Cheltenham was soft ground, and we have backed off him since the outbreak of coronavirus. But with him being ready and him being pretty quick, liking quick ground, we thought, well, let's go to Royal Ascot for the Queen Alexandra. You don't need a handicap mark to get into that race. So we'll enter him. If we get balloted out, we get balloted out. But if he gets a run, let's give it a go.
He sounds like the type of horse that could run anywhere, isn't it? I mean, he seems to... is he the horse that you mentioned about possibly going to Galway?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. He's just a delightful horse. But as I said, he's now rated 142, which, as we know, horses that like better ground and need to predominantly run in the summer, when they get over 140, races become fewer and harder to find. So hence the reason for perhaps thinking about going abroad. But then again, that might not happen, depending on all the restrictions and quarantine. I might be over in Ireland for 2 weeks by the sounds of it.
Sounds like a good excuse to get away from some homeschooling, actually.
Exactly.
So we're getting lots of questions in, but don't forget, if you've got any questions for Jamie, please type them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll pass those on to him. So a couple of other people have just asked about the couple of other Foxtrot horses that we've got in training with you. So let's just move on to them. So probably deal with them together. So Anything for Love and Hogan's Height. Jamie, when will they come back into the yard?
Well, as far as Hogan's concerned, we've got, as we've said previously, we've got one aim, and that's obviously to get him to the Grand National in 2021. And working back from there, we're obviously talking about entry in December for either the Grand Sefton or the Beecher. And so really, we want to run in early November over hurdles to get him spot on for that. So we probably don't need to be getting him in any earlier than the beginning of July, really. And then we've got plenty of time to get him ready for November, and then on to December. So I think the temptation is to bring, having cut the season short early, there's always a temptation to bring them in slightly earlier in order to have them ready earlier. But as far as Hogan and Anything for Love's concerned, I think let's stick with the original plan of bringing them in July.
Great. Well, hopefully an exciting season for both of those, and we're looking forward to getting them back in. So let's move on to some sort of non-Foxtrot questions, as it were. Glenn Parsons has asked about the fact that there are no sales at the moment, and what does that mean in terms of getting horses in and also moving horses out of the yard? Have you found that difficult? Have you been able to bring in some new horses, into the yard during lockdown?
Very interesting question. The first thing I did when all this broke out was obviously cut owners' bills by turning horses out in the field, and we were lucky with the weather and that. The second thing I did was any horse that would have been on the transfer list, I tried to sell privately, and thankfully we've managed to move all bar one that we wanted to send to the sales. All bar one has been sold privately, which is great. So I've just got one left to sell. And he'll be entered into the Doncaster sales, which will be the end of July. The end of July. And as far as buying horses are concerned, I've been the sales obviously haven't come up yet, but I will be at the sales and I will be buying.
So the sales are sort of due to resume in July, are they? Is that the plan?
Yeah, end of July we've got the Doncaster sales, and then through August as well. So they are planning on having them, and quite to what extent we'll be allowed to sort of get in and get our hands dirty remains to be seen. But certainly the sales have been put back. Dates are in the diary, and they're working to that.
Great. So a question from Martin is, have you spoken to Gavin or Sam about doing the weight on Carntop for Royal Ascot?
I was rather hoping I might get the call up, actually, Dan. I've been riding out a bit lately, and rather fancied a ride at Royal Ascot, but no, I think obviously I've seen Sam every day as well. Sam's been in riding out at Archie Watson, so I've been passing his string most days and seen Sam. And Gavin's been over in Ireland. He went back home, and actually he came back over this week, and he was in schooling again this morning. So the wheels are in motion, and there's a general feeling that the vehicle's moving now with flat racing up and going, and you can just sense that jumping is waiting to get back into it.
And perhaps the serious point of that question is I mean, have we any thoughts about jockey for Ascot, or do we cross that bridge when we get to it?
I think we have to discuss it in the lead into it. I mean, I don't have any. I think we need somebody who's going to give our horses a ride, and it's all very well booking Frankie Dettori and some of these top class jockeys, but I think if they see that Jamie Snowdens only got 2 horses at the meeting, they might throw their leg over the horse and pick up their 150 quid and walk off home happy as Larry, as opposed to actually giving the horse a ride. So I think we have to find some connection between us and the jockey, and an idea that obviously Freddie's been working for us for a year now. Freddie Mitchell, our assistant, and his brother Jack Mitchell has been riding on the flat and riding well. I think he had another winner last night, and he had sort of the best part of 50 odd winners last season. I think we need some kind of connection. So I think, Dan, we'll have a chat, but certainly we might think about Jack as one.
And another question on the Royal Ascot theme, and I think I do know the answer to this, but I'll let you answer it. Jamie, are you going to have to go to Royal Ascot in your top hat and tails?
Oh, do through all the many years of watching Ascot and going there, and I've longed to have a runner at Royal Ascot whilst in top hat and tails, and this year it looks like we might be sending 2. And no, I think we'll be. I think they've said no to jeans and t-shirts, but no to top hat and tails. So somewhere in the middle, I think I'll be going.
So I'll just tell you this very quick story. In Euro 96, the football tournament, I actually was at school still, and I realised it was the Middlesex University Open Day. So I took the day off school to go to Middlesex University on the same day as England played Holland at Wembley in Euro 96, and got tickets for the match, which of course one of the great England performances. But also on the way down to Wembley, which left in the morning, realised that it was racing at Royal Ascot in the afternoon. And I thought to myself, what a brilliant day it would be to do Ascot in the afternoon and then go to Wembley to watch England play Holland in Euro 96 in the evening. And so I did that. But when I got to Ascot, I was in my full football kit. I mean, I was ready for the football game. Because obviously I hadn't prepared when I left to head off to this pretend University Open Day to get the day off school. I had no intention of going to Ascot. It's only on the way that we thought, oh God, I could fit that in. But I bought a ticket off a tout, and when I read the back of the ticket, it gave the dress instructions, and all it said was you had to have a collared shirt and you couldn't wear shorts. Well, my football shirt was both collared and I wasn't wearing shorts. So claim to fame of mine is in 1996, I went to Royal Ascot in my football kit. And although the doorman stopped me, I had to point out to him the dress regulations, and there was nothing he could do, and he allowed me in.
Brilliant story.
So that was a great day. And of course, England went on to beat Holland 4-1 in one of the great performances of ever, so of England football. So that was a great day. Almost ranks up there with Hogan's Heights victory in the Grand Sefton, Jamie. Those brilliant days.
That was I obviously we've all had a bit of extra spare time on our hands, and producing the video like that I produced for the Foxtrot winners this season. Still now I love watching back at those videos, and I think that day will live long in our hearts and minds for a long old time, won't it? It's a wonderful day.
Now, just Rose McDowell, who's one of our syndicate members that you know very well, I think she's got a horse with you, and she's asked for an update. Now, I can't actually remember. Is it Exodela. You remind me, what's the horse
Yeah,
called?
well, I call him Exodela, but yeah, Exodela, yeah. He's very well. He's out on the field getting fat, and yeah, no, he's looking really well. So I think we'll bring him back in beginning of July, end of June, beginning of July, along with the rest of them. He had a good season. He was a very good. He was second and third in 2 bumpers, and then second and third over hurdles before winning on handicap debut at Ludlow. And I think he's a horse with a lot more to come from him. He's a smart horse. He's taken a bit of getting to know, really. But having found the key to him, I think there's a lot more to come. He was one of those horses that he won over hurdles in February. And it's an interesting point here because obviously with the coronavirus cutting the season short for 6 weeks, the BHA have introduced a rule whereby if you win your novice hurdle in February, they're extending your novice status until the end of November. So that might work for some of your horses down, perhaps. Obviously, not the 3 that you've got with us, but some of the others it might work for. And it certainly does help in some respects. So, you know, he would qualify for things like the Persian War, among other things, in October going into November. So he's a lovely horse, and he's got a lot more to come from him.
And another of our members, Penny Brown, she's involved with a horse called Midnight Chill. Can you give us an update on how Midnight Chill's doing?
Yeah, so as you saw from the video, Midnight Chill's back in, just come back in. He, contrary to what it may look like, he's not pregnant, but certainly he's got a few kilos to lose before he's racing fit, but that will come. He obviously won 3 novice chases the year before last, and the year before last, the winter was pretty good ground. Last winter, obviously, it was very soft, and he got lost in the bog last winter. So we brought him in slightly earlier with a view to having, well, obviously we wanted to run him in the spring, but that never materialised. So we brought him in slightly earlier from his summer holiday, and he'll be ready for the autumn.
Great. Well, a couple of other questions we could throw at you just to finish off with, Jamie. So someone, Anthony has asked, have you got many unraced horses in the yard at the moment, and are there any that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, again, that's a very good question. We've got 1 unraced horse in the yard at the moment. We've got plenty, obviously, coming back in from holidays and what have you. But we've got 1 in the yard that's in training at the moment. He's an unnamed horse by Dylan Thomas. He is for sale. He's owned by an Irishman who sent him over to me to run and hopefully win a bumper and then sell on. But he is for sale, and he's a lovely big horse. But unfortunately, there are no bumpers throughout the whole of July, which is interesting. The programme book came out last night, which you may have been through with a fine tooth comb down to find Southwell races for Carntop to go and win. But I have penciled in a few actually, but I've got them here as we speak. Perhaps if we go to Ascot, you might not be ready for the 1st of July, but there is a race at Southwell on the 1st of July, a 0 to 140 2-mile handicap. And then back at Southwell, there's he's off 122. So if I have a chat with a handicapper, I might see if I can get £2 off him, because there's a 0 to 120 on the 14th of July, again back at Southwell, or Utoxeter on the same day. And then there's Utoxeter and Southwell later on in the month, 30th of July. Again, a 2-mile race or a 2-mile 4 race at Southwell on the 30th. So there's a few options there, and I'll ping them across to you on email as well, Dan. But I can't remember the question now.
You've answered it beautifully, Jamie. Beautiful. Young horses, unraced horses.
Oh, young unraced horses. I go on to Carntop. Yeah, there's no bumpers in July, which is a bit of a shame, really. So I'm going to have to just take it easy on him for a moment and have him ready, hopefully in August.
Martin Heath has asked you often have a horse lined up for the Grand Military. Have you got anything lined up for the Grand Military this coming season?
Yeah, so obviously the Grand Military, very dear in my heart. I was very lucky to win it on a few occasions, and through my military links, obviously my old corporal Jordan Wiley produced a syndicate called the Cherry Pickers, of which there are 10 people involved, and we've got a horse called Kalahari Queen, who's was going to go for the Grand Military this last year, but it was waterlogged before the coronavirus, so we couldn't run in that. But yeah, she'll be there for next year, hopefully.
Brilliant. And another question we've had come in. obviously the race program has now come out sort of for a bit of summer racing. Now, what's your view on it? Do you think it looks sensible? Do you think it looks fair? And is it appropriate for the horses that you've got in your yard?
Again, very, very good question. And I feared it might cater to the 0 to 100s more so than the 0 to 130s or higher. And actually, I went through it last night. Obviously, it came out at, I think, 6 o'clock last night. And I went through it with all of our sort of summer horses. And apart from the lack of bumpers, which I've already mentioned, I think it caters for every horse that we've got in the yard. So I think it's very fair, yes, apart from the bumpers.
Well, let's hope so. It depends on the results, I guess, isn't it?
Exactly. Interestingly enough, I've sat on some of these resumption committees and what have you, and they reckon there's 15% more horses ready to go on the 1st of July this year than last year.
That's really interesting, isn't it? And I think I probably had anticipated it would be the opposite way around, potentially a few less horses, people less willing to keep their horse in training while they weren't really sure what was happening. So interesting that there are actually more, and therefore potentially these races, because there are less races, are going to be even more competitive. Are there any restrictions on the number of runners, or is it pretty standard in terms of sort of the rules as they'd normally be if we weren't in the current situation?
They haven't gone into numbers, the safety factors yet. Obviously on the flat, it's still a safety factor of 12, and they're talking about the safety factor going up to 14. And interestingly enough, going back onto Carntop and Royal Ascot, there won't be safety factors at Ascot. There'll be the normal Ascot safety factors as opposed to coronavirus safety factors. So for Ascot, there are no safety factors. And obviously, we are saying to the BHA that it seems ludicrous that there can be no safety factors at Ascot, and yet at Lingfield on the same day for a 0 to 70 for horses that have run around the block 100 times, there can be a safety factor of 12. They're looking at it, and I can understand from the BHA's perspective. They've started off quite draconian with all their rules and protocols, which I think they needed to in order to get racing off the ground. But I think as the weeks progress, I'd like to hope that things can be relaxed slightly, and maybe 1 or 2 owners can be welcomed back, and field sizes can go up. And to answer your question directly, no, they haven't said what field sizes there will be for jumpers yet, but I think it will be an ongoing thing that they will look at.
Great, and I think the last question, which I think is very appropriate and perhaps one that we can answer between us, because I'm sure it's one that a lot of syndicate members have been thinking about. And the question is, as owners are no longer able to go to the racecourse, what will you be doing to ensure the owners have a good sort of at-home experience? And perhaps that's one for us to answer a little bit jointly, Jamie, because I know we're both very keen to make sure that all syndicate members and all owners in general have a very good and positive experience and make the best of it, particularly when we've got runners. And I think examples like this very stable visit we're doing right now is an example of us trying to think of ways and ideas to keep owners involved with their horse, even if we can't necessarily get into the yard and get into the race course. But certainly, we'll be looking at using sort of interviews with trainers, with jockeys, and Jamie, I know you'll be very much part of that sort of offering, if you like, to make sure that all our members have a really positive experience whenever we've got a runner.
I think that's very true, and I think it goes for everyone from syndicates down to sole owners. Whilst no owners are allowed onto the racecourse, we have to bring the racecourse to them. And certainly before coronavirus, I'd never heard of Zoom, but obviously Zoom is going to have to come to the fore, and we'll be there, talking to the jockey, as it were, and so that everybody knows the instructions of what's going to happen or what we plan to happen. And as we all know, every plan only survives first contact with the enemy. But we need everyone to know, what our plan is and how we want to try and execute it, and try and bring the racecourse experience to the living room.
Jamie, thank you very much indeed for your time. Really do appreciate it. I think we've run a couple of minutes over what we said we would, so I very much appreciate you giving up your time. I know you're very busy and race planning and lots of horses now to be getting ready for the season ahead. So just on behalf of everyone at Foxtrot, I hope you have a really fantastic season. Last year was incredible, and let's go and beat that, and hopefully Foxtrot Horses can play their part. Brilliant.
Well, listen, Dan, thank you. And as far as everyone's concerned, I think Foxtrot are certainly up on the pedestal as far as syndicates are concerned, and I know you keep all the syndicate members entertained, and you're great to work with. So well done, Foxtrot.
Jamie, thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate your time and being so open and honest with us today. So thanks very much to everyone that's joined us. I hope you've enjoyed today's visit to Jamie's yard at Folly House, and hopefully we'll be seeing everyone very soon.
Perfect. Thanks, Dan.